We know that Syria was a battleground, a sacrificial battleground for many external powers in the last 14 years, and the specter of external meddling is looming large. We know that the US has a vested interest, Russia, Iran, Turkey, and Israel, and these actors will undoubtedly seek to influence the shape of the new Syria along their interests. Iran would likely want to exploit the instability to regain influence which it has lost with the collapse and the fall of the Assad regime. Russia has dwindling influence, and we know that the new government has refused to renew the lease to the Russian military base in Tartus. Turkey still occupies parts of northern Syria. It's fighting its own war against its own Kurds, but also resents the rise of an autonomous Kurdish entity in northeast Syria and has occupied Syria on the ground of fighting this separatist influence. Turkey had traditionally also strong ties with HTS, although the takeover of last month was done apparently independently from Turkey. So the relation here between Turkey, HTS, and the Kurds will also be decisive. And moreover, I would say what is also highly problematic is the recent expansion and occupation by Israel beyond the already occupied Syrian Golan, which Israel seized the momentum of the collapse of the Assad regime to carry out repeated strikes within Syria, more than 300, 400, seizing about 70 to 80% and destroying 70 to 80% of Syria's military capabilities, as well as its entire naval and radar installations. This was done in total violation of international law because the Syrian government was not posing any threat to Israel. What Israel did also was to unilaterally abrogate the 1974 disengagement agreement with Syria, which had been brokered by also the United States, capturing the entire buffer zone that had been established since then between their forces, and also moving beyond that buffer zone to capture additional Syrian territory on the eastern slopes of the Mount Hermon, and reaching almost the outskirts of the Syrian capital, Damascus, reaching within 15 kilometers of Damascus. There's also an aspect of resource capture here. Israel had already captured the sources of the Jordan River when it occupied the Syrian Golan in 1967, annexing it illegally in 1981. And now, beyond the sources of the Golan, it also captured a dam that is used jointly by Syria and Jordan, the Wahda Dam, and additional water resources which belong to Syria. An estimate of 30% of Syria's water resources are captured by and occupied by Israel. Clearly, there's a need for national reconciliation in Syria. There was a very, very bloody war taking place, a lot of resentment, a bloodless takeover, so there's hope for national reconciliation and integration of everyone after the success of the Syrian revolution. The second point is the restoration of sovereignty, Syria's sovereignty, mentioning all of the different occupying powers. I forgot to mention that the US has also bombed Syria last month, targeting allegedly ISIS targets and having also a presence, military presence in Syria, adding to the complicated relation between the new government and the external powers. The third point is accountability, clearly, pursuing justice for the victims of Syria, victims of war crimes and human rights violations, and having also a transitional justice system within Syria, allowing for the country and its people themselves to carry out the sentences and the justice, the much needed justice, actually backward looking, but also forward looking. And finally, human insecurity. There are immense challenges found in water, food, health, environmental insecurities, groundwater pollution from the war, landmines, unexploded landmines, which are still present in the country, and also the educational gap. We know that the education system in Syria stands at a near collapse state in many parts of the country, and that almost 2.4 million children, Syrian children, are out of school. with another 1 million are at the risk of dropping out. This increases, of course, the likelihood of negative coping mechanisms such as child labor and child marriage. To end, the key to a sustainable transition lies in maintaining first and foremost Syrian agency while navigating these external threats. And without a genuine sovereign process led by Syrians themselves, away from all of these foreign interferences, but also occupation, the country risks repeating the cycle of fragmentation and foreign domination. At this stage now, the Syrians have an immense hope in the future, an immense hope that they will be able to gather and rebuild their country, but there will be also the need of the support of the international community.